What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? It is your girl, Miss Natalie B, and it is 6 o'clock on a Friday, so you already know where you are. It is Free Your Mind Friday with the Healing Academy, and of course, again, your girl, Miss Natalie B. And as always, y'all, I'm excited. Y'all know I be excited all the time, so it ain't nothing new. But today, this week, has all been about literacy. So if you follow our posts all throughout the week, our little tidbits on different topics, you know that this week was all about literacy. And I have a good friend of mine. Okay, we go way back to them NIU days. Okay, alma mater. James is a good friend of mine who has always been about his business. Okay, and so I am super excited for him to come on and have a real conversation about work that he does with youth all over the country. All right, James, let me go ahead and get you up on screen. How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm really good. Again, excited to have this conversation. I laugh because every time I say it, I know people watching like excited. You always excited. Okay, we
Right.
get it. I'm always excited. So, can you please just start off by introducing yourself, telling the people about you and what you do?
Yeah. So my name is James Alford. By day, I'm an academic advisor at Columbia College Chicago. I work with film and television students, and then I think outside of work, I'm a mentor. I'm a podcaster, a speaker, and so um, I host the 79th Street podcast, in which my whole goal for that was just to put out there different issues that students may face in college, bring up different topics to try to give a kind of a pro-Black experience. And I think that's important because a lot of times, being in that space, you don't hear from people that look like you, or you may not run into a lot. And so some of my colleagues just thought it was important to put that opinion out there. And I've definitely gotten some great feedback from it from some of my former students and even one of our bigger higher ed organizations. Like I was telling somebody, I didn't realize they gave me a shout out for my podcast just for amplifying Black voices, because it's just giving, that space where you can talk about the Black perspective, which can be, left under the radar if you don't have any friends that identify with that. But I think outside of that, like I said, I mentor and volunteer with a couple organizations. Mentor Teacher Brother, a mentor program on the south side of Chicago. And then I'm definitely a volunteer with Chicago Public Schools. And so pre-COVID, I was volunteering at my high school, Kenwood Academy. And the MICFA Challenge was an organization I was in high school. And I volunteer with them as well. So we'll see what new things arises after COVID. Like I think everything been pretty chill, because COVID has been going on. So you really can't do too much from all aspects. But I am excited to see what the new normal looks like and what new adventures await myself and others.
It's going to be interesting. I know in Chicago, they got the babies getting ready to go back into the school building. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing, teachers mandatory, students optional, I believe, depending on the school. So that it's going to be interesting to say the least. And, vaccines floating around. So we'll see. We shall see. But thank you for sharing. And one thing that I like to get the conversation started, it's kind of our coin starter question now. Have you ever seen Brown Sugar?
I have.
Okay. So the question is a remix from that question in that film, but it's, when did you fall in love with whatever our topic is? So for you, it's going to be, when did you fall in love with literacy or education?
I want to say, and it's going to sound bad, it might have been on the tail end of graduating from undergrad. And I would just say, sometimes you go through the motions because, things are expected of you. And so, like, I always tell people, I'm a first generation college student. So not saying like I didn't want to go to college, but it really wasn't like talked about. Like I learned about college from going to high school. Like I went to Kimball, and so I always tell people our mission was college. Like that was the mission. Like when I was in school, it's like, and the summer, hey Broncos, what is our mission? College. And so, but even then, I
So that
struggled.
was like legit your mission, like
That was
not
like that was like the
okay.
mission for real. And then I
Okay.
think after starting my first year at NIU, I struggled like that first year, and so I had to learn how to be a student. And I think like on the tail end, because I ended up going to grad school and getting a master's in higher education, and so I think it was around like those last 2 years of undergrad where I was like, I can see myself working in this arena for a while, and I think some of the other stuff just comes with it, right? Because as far as like literacy, um, you become this beacon of the people you're around. And so I was around a lot of, like, one of my mentors was the vice president of finance of the Residence Hall Association. And so he took me up under his wing. And so therefore you start looking at budgeting differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
My best friend wasn't from this country. And so how he managed money and how I managed money was two different ways. And so you pick up on those things from your peers. And a part of my first job at a grad school, one of our components was financial literacy. And not that I'm surprised, but like a lot of my students who have decided to keep in contact, that's the focal point of some of our conversations now, as I'm not their advisor. So they don't have to talk to me, but they do hit me up and like, hey, student loans, what about this? Like they ask me all the questions about, like, what does this mean when you talk about the loans? Or, hey, I'm so.
So I mean, I'm gonna have to start hitting you up. Oh, okay, thank you.
But and I think that just came like with the job where I think at first I was afraid of like the financial literacy piece because, like I said, I grew up poor, so you really you didn't have a lot of money, and to just be in charge of like teaching students about money, and then like at my first job, like I oversaw. We had these mentors, and so I was over the financial team. So that's all the programming they did, and so they can't do any programs without running through me, and therefore by default, I get put on the spot to run some of the programs if they fall or things that sort. So I think it was just like being professionally, right, where I think I learned some stuff, but when you become a professional and you graduate from school, you really have to look at it and decide, okay, hey, what am I going to do? Because I'm not going to lie, it wasn't after I graduated, like I said, because I didn't start a savings account until grad school.
Come on, it helped you learn though. It was a part of your process.
It was.
And that's the thing. And I really want people to get this. Everybody's process is different.
Facts.
Everybody's process is different. So some people may have a family background where college is all they know, or some people may have a family background where they're taught finances early. And often, parents may start saving accounts for their children and then give it to them later, or budgets are a part of staples in the household. That's not the majority, in my opinion and in my experience, of melanated households. That's not the majority. Not saying it's not out there, right, but that's not the majority. I was the first to graduate from a university as well. I wasn't the first to attend, but I was the first to graduate from a university. So I know that to be true as well. But people think, because when they look at people at a success point, they think that they've always been that way. And I like to remind people that there's a journey to where you're going, because you're never fully done. Even when you get to a success point for someone else, you still got some ways to go on your checklist, so you're always still going. So everybody's journey and experiences are different. And also, just because you start off a certain way, as far as your family background, as far as financial income, as far as education based, that should not limit you on your ideas, your goals for yourself, or where you can go and what you can do. So I didn't want anybody to miss that from what you said. We are more than where we come from. We are more than our circumstances. Period.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, I was just telling somebody like recently. I said, I think I always tell people because people be like, oh yeah, James, one of my smartest friends. And so I tell people, I'm like, hey, I'm not smart, like, and they be like, well, why you say that? I said, I think I'm just a hard worker, and what anybody knows, hard work beats out a lot of people on a daily basis. And so I would give myself credit in being a hard worker because, like I just think of what Eric Thomas said. He said you may come from privilege. Your father may be like this millionaire, but you're not gonna outwork me. And I think that's how I feel. Where like, you could have better grades than me, but when it come down to it, I can get anybody to run for their money when it just comes to hard work. And I think I've used that to drive me and a lot of things that I've done. From school wise. To just life.
Absolutely. And I don't want anybody to miss that point either, because I know that also to be true. I think a lot of people look at me like, oh, she's so smart. I'm not going to say I'm dumb now, okay?
Right.
I do have some intelligence to me. But I also know I'm not the smartest person in the world. But I also know I don't have to be. Right. My drive is going to get me a lot further, because you can be the smartest person in the world. Your IQ can be as high as it can be, and you can still not do anything with it. You can still sit on it and rest on the fact that you're smart, but what are you accomplishing? What is your drive looking like? What is your passion looking like? What is that work ethic looking like? So I think that's very important to let young people know, but to let adults know as well. Oh, yeah. Because it's not just the young people, the adults need to hear this word as well. What are you going to do with the gifts that you have? So if your gift is intelligent, what are you going to do with that? If your gift is to work hard, because that ain't everybody's gift.
It's not. It's not.
What are you gonna do with that? So I think it's you motivating yourself. And I always tell people, like, I had to work, I wouldn't say 10 times harder, but I definitely had to work a lot harder than other people to get through school. And again, when people just look at me and because of my drive, they're like, oh, really? So I'm like, baby, I got to hustle. You hear me talking to you? I be in the teacher's office like, hold on, what you say in class? But I'm not going to fail because I have the drive and the will to make it happen, to make these grades happen, to make this pass happen. Maybe if it was a C-, I passed the class. You hear me talking to you? I passed the class. I'm gonna make it do what it do, okay? And so I just really think that's important. It's your drive, it's your passion behind what you do, because being smart isn't everything.
Nah.
What else you got with that? What else you gonna do with that? Having talent isn't everything. What else you gonna go do with that? And that's easy to see when you look at a whole lot of things nowadays. I look at music and be like, this was. But I can't knock they hustle, because I'm like, they had that drive. They got it done. They made it.
Yeah.
Not my cup of tea, but they hustled. They got on.
Right. And I think even the point of, right, you hear a lot of people say you don't ever want to be the smartest person in your circle. You want to be around people that are smarter than you so they can elevate you and you can learn. And so, and I always feel like that. So I think that just attests to like the circles that I'm in, where like, you just don't let certain situations like get the best of you, right? Because like, for example, me having a master's degree, that's kind of, I think it's becoming like more common. You're seeing more like blacks get master's degrees, but like also too, when I did it, a lot of people wasn't thinking about it because I did it right after my undergrad degree. Like I went right into a master's program. And so people just kind of like, oh, hey, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this because like I said, but I think that's when I found out like, all right, I can do this higher ed stuff. Like I think I saw that I had that passion for higher ed and doing it. And so it just made sense to go right into it because I wasn't going to go into politics, being a political science, undergrad, but I think that just attached to it where like, I feel like I'm always learning and, I've taught myself so much stuff and I kind of like it, right? Where I started a podcast in the midst of the pandemic and I'm pretty sure like some other people, just how much I taught myself about podcasting and like, putting stuff together, running shows, test shows, even like how to use certain, like the editing software and stuff like that.
Oh
Like
yes, that's a whole nother monster.
I didn't, and I'm not saying I'm the best, right? But I
Right.
did it enough to finesse what I needed to use from it, and I think like and there's people, and I'm not ashamed to ask for help. Like I see people like with stuff on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, hey, how did you do this? What software are you using? What app? And I think that could go a long way for a lot of people. Where like you could self teach yourself stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff on YouTube. I call it YouTube University
Whole
because you
time.
can learn a lot of stuff. But I don't want people to just limit themselves, right? Because you can know something better than me, and I do have a master's degree. That don't mean it doesn't mean anything. Like to an extent, right? I know there's a lot of stereotypes against formal education. Like some people say like, hey, formal education just teaches kind of like obedience to an extent, right? Because it shows that like you can do what your teachers want you to do and things of that sort. And not saying I agree or disagree, but I know that's kind of one of the misconceptions about it. Where like I really enjoyed my master's program, right? I felt like it was straight to the point. I felt like my time wasn't wasted like in undergrad because in undergrad to make you take those gen eds, and we all know like those gen eds how to weed people out. Like gen eds to have you like it'll have you contemplate, am I gonna stay in school? It's gonna have and
Right.
it pushes a lot of people away
In
from
bio
school.
class, like Lord.
Yeah, oh trust me, I know. I tell people a lot. I said it took me a couple tries to pass that last science class. Like, but I got over that hump. But it took a few tries to knock it out. And so I do
That's
think
the
I
thing
got
that I
more.
think is different about higher ed. And I hear that from a lot of people that go to graduate school and different things like that. They say it's different. It's really different from undergrad. And I understand people that get through undergrad and be like, I'm never going back.
Right.
Because undergrad was undergrad, okay? All
Right.
the gen eds and everything else.
Right.
Because I'm one of those people. I'll be like, they can't pay me. You can't pay me to go back to school. I'm one of those people, so I wholeheartedly understand those people. But I do also get that if I find a topic that interests me enough, I think I would, honestly. Because I love knowledge, I love information. And I think that's one thing when it comes to people speaking to higher education or college in general, versus like trade school. And some people say college isn't for everybody and those type of things. I agree. It isn't for everybody. Everybody has their own lane and their own path. Like we started off saying, everybody has their own journey that they have to go down, and trades are slept on.
They are.
We need trade people. Car gonna break down. We're gonna always need a mechanic. Okay. Heating, cooling, it's hot, your air conditioning fixing. We're gonna always need that. Okay. Plumbing, we're gonna always need it. So trade schools are necessary. But I do think that higher education is for some people as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For me, I never saw myself. I was tired of school. In high school, I was tired of school. And it made everybody mad. My principal, like everybody was like, Natalie, you going to college. And I'm like, look, y'all, I'm tired.
I'm sick and tired.
I don't want to do this. No more. I'm going to trade school. I said, I was doing hair. I said, I'm done with this.
Oh, yeah. I know they ain't want to hear that.
They was mad. I was an AB student, president of the student body. They like, Natalie, you are going to college.
Right.
They tricked me into filling out applications. And I actually went to NIU's campus. That's what got me. I went to the campus and was like, oh,
yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it was one of the best experiences of my life. And I wouldn't change it for the world. And it wasn't for the degree, because as soon as the degree came, I gave it to my mom and was like, here you go, and went about my life. Because I was literally already doing what I went to school for before I finished school. I had already had the job, right? But the experience. So for anyone out there who's like questioning college, yes, it's debt. If you can go debt free, God, please do that. But please do that. But for the experience alone, and for inner city youth to get out of their environment that they know, to see something different and to meet different people, I would say is worth the world.
Oh, of
so
course.
What would be your opinion as far as inner city youth going to higher education?
I think they gotta want to go, right? So like what you
Yeah.
said. So I think when we graduated from high school, and I've talked about this in like a few of my podcast episodes and just with people in general, I agree with the notion higher ed isn't for everybody. College isn't for everybody. Some people need to go to trade route. Some people need to go to community college before they go to university. So I agree with that. And I think with students from the inner city, you got to do what's best for you, right? Where you don't want your school's administration dictating what you do, right? So for granted, kind of similar to you, I kind of picked to go to NIU, and part of it was because I went to the campus when I was a sophomore in high school. And so so I would say visit whatever campus it is and see yourself on that campus. If you can't see yourself on that campus, don't waste your time going because you're gonna be in for it. But being from the inner city, you gotta want to be there and you gotta be dedicated to it because you got some people say like, oh, I want to go to school because I want to get out of my parents' house. It's a reason to get you out the house, but you might be at home every weekend because it's cracking in whatever city you living in. And so you probably just want to make sure that it's something that you're dedicated to and and actually, but don't let your school's administration dictate what you do. Like if you want to go into a trade, do a trade. If you want to go to community college, go to community college because you can save a lot of money. And especially when we talk about like Chicago public schools now, where like they got this new program where I think if you graduate from high school with above a 3.0, you can get a associates from the city colleges. That would have been love when we was coming up. Like
yes,
that wasn't.
I didn't have that option.
That wasn't an option for us. So if that's something you want to do, I would say do it because when you go to university, they don't meet you where you're at. You have to get caught up to wherever the school standards are versus a lot of community colleges meet you where you are. They take you as you is and they kind of build you up to where you need to be. So when you transfer to that four-year university, if that's what you want to do, you'll be ready to compete with those students, and I think that's like, working in higher ed, you kind of see where like some students probably should have, started off at community college versus coming straight in. And a lot of times some students, they'll start and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go to community college next semester. And
I think I'm really grateful for NIU's Chance program.
Yeah, for sure.
The Chance program was amazing. I actually came through the Chance program. And the Chance program was great because you had those counselors that were like, all right, look, what we need help in, what we need to do, what classes we need to give you before you get to the other one. That's the base level class. Like what can we do to get you where you need to be? Because it can very well be a culture shock, especially coming. And this is the part I really want to dive into, talking about the real. Of it all, the foolishness of it all. If you want to be 100, coming from high school, specifically where we're from, Chicago, CPS public schools, and then going to a university, whether it be PWI or HBCU, it don't matter. HBCU, PWI, even sometimes community college. Chicago public school is not the ones that I've seen. It might be some amazing ones out there that I missed, but the majority that I've seen is really not. They're not preparing these kids to go into college.
Yeah.
So what I've seen happen through all the years that I was in college, there were students that came in, one that thought college was something that it wasn't. They got caught up in the party. We all know some people that got caught up in the party.
Of course.
And didn't make it past first semester. Okay. We all know those people. But then just grade-wise and keeping up with the workload, you're taking umpteen different classes. Your teachers don't care about the other teachers. You better have my papers in on time or my assignments in on time. Thanks. And you are in charge of doing that. I'm talking to current teachers that are in CPS now, and they're coddling these kids. And I'm like, that's not life.
That's nice.
They are not. You are setting them up for failure.
Yeah.
Because not only will they not get past college, they won't make it in life. What y'all teaching these kids? So my question to you is, what can we do? What can we do as individuals? What do you feel the school systems can do? And what are the flaws that you see?
Yeah, I think we got to hold them accountable, right? Like, yes, you want to say they're kids, but when you go from high school to college, you become an adult, right?
Mm.
Where your parents, technically, me being an advisor, I don't have to let your parents know, what you're doing, right? I don't have to let them know your grades, how you doing in school, unless y'all have documentation on file. So I think the high schools need to stop coddling them as much and hold them accountable when it comes to turning it in their assignments, right? Where because we all know, right? In high school, you had a person who would do no work all semester. Right before grades come out, hey, can I get extra credit? Can I make up my assignments?
Yes.
And boom, they get a passing grade. And it's like
Yes.
that's not life because in college, right? Like I was just telling some students, I said, hey, you have all type of different teachers, right? Where some teachers would say, hey, I'll let you turn in something to get a passing grade, but they ain't nothing to say, I'm gonna let you turn in every assignment you miss.
Right.
You know,
Everything.
and I think that's the misconception where you've been doing this from K through 12th grade. Then you
Absolutely.
get to college and it's a slap in the face because it's like, all right, here's the accountability. And it's like the accountability needs to start. It needs to start in high school. Like,
It
and I
needs to
think,
start in elementary
yeah,
school.
yeah. And that's probably a better way, to put it, where like it just needs to start a lot sooner because how we're currently going, like it's not going to work. And then I think like outside of that, parents need to, have more real conversation with their students
Yeah.
before they go and just letting them know like what it is. We know parents that typically have money, they tend to set it out with their students like, hey, if you mess up, you coming home. So hey, get those grades. If not, you come back to the crib. Versus some of us, it's kind of like not saying you don't have no conversation, but you just kind of go and you go with the wind. And like I said, and I'll be the one to admit, I struggled as a first year student, and some of it was I don't want to say I wasn't prepared academically. Like a lot of people said, like I was prepared, but I just wasn't doing work. Like I was staying up. I had 8 a.m., which the transition from high school to college was big, where everybody was like, "Yeah, you shouldn't take 8 a.m.s." And I know people hate when I say that. I said, "Well, 8 a.m.s wasn't my thing." Like I learned that my first
I
semester because
had like one.
yeah, like I had an 8 a.m. every day of the week my first semester, and towards the end of it, I was struggling going to class, and but I also used to stay up all night. Like I wasn't disciplined. That's the other part
Right.
of it. I wasn't disciplined where I knew like I need to be to sleep by this time because I got an 8 a.m. class. I would
That
stay
part
up.
though.
I would stay up kicking it on the floor to like 1, 2, trying
Yeah.
to go to 8 a.m. And then I avoided 8 a.m. classes. And then like when I became a veteran, like I'm a fourth year student, I got to take a summer class. It's an 8 a.m. summer class because it's math 101. But I knew like I need to be in bed by 10:30 because I got this 8 a.m.
Mhm.
class and I had it 4 days. I had it Monday through Thursday. So it's like I was disciplined enough on my own to do it versus that first year where I just kind of went with the wind. And I'm not gonna lie, my cousin tried to tell me, but I was like, oh, I did this in high school. Like I used to wake up at like 5:30,
Right.
5:45,
But
to
then
go to
you
high
had a
school.
mama or an alarm clock. Like,
Yeah, yeah. And also I say I kind of had a safety net where if I didn't get up, my mom, hey James, come get up, and so, but yeah, I think we got to start holding them accountable and get that notion out of there of like extra credit because I've been a teacher on the college level, and the first thing I tell them, I said, you know, and some people said like, "Are you're mean?" I said, "But why do you need extra credit if you're doing a regular credit?" Right?
be at work.
That shouldn't be a need for extra credit, right? Because one, that's more work I got to grade.
Come on, we
Quite
really got
frankly, and like I tell people, I said the times when I was helping teaching classes, I was still a student as well. So it's like I still had my own stuff, and I told somebody if you give out 10 assignments to a 50-person class, that's a lot to do outside of the regular work. And so what I started doing was I started giving less assignments and more group work because it count, it mellows out with what you got to grade. And so, yeah. But we just
I
got to start
always
holding them
said that I
accountable.
would be one of those teachers. I'm like, I ain't assigning no 20-page papers because I ain't finna read it. Everything's gonna be oral
Right.
presentations. You better read it to me.
Because you got to read that. Somebody got to read that.
Right. I ain't assigning no 20-page paper. Oral presentations. Let's go.
Right. Somebody got to read that. You know,
Right.
and that's just how I took it. And you know, and I think just being real, where like I think every college should offer like we had Black Studies 202 issues facing African American college students. I think every school should have a course like that where Black students can take and they can be taught by Black staff and they can learn the ins and outs of college. Like I learned so much from that class, you know, and just seeing like, you know, how to work the system. But I think every school should offer something like that to help these students adjust, because we, like I said, we need it. Like we need a little bit more nurturing than other groups. Like I said, especially if you coming from, like say, the inner city, you're a first generation student. We need the extra nurturing, and you
And the
need
parents
to.
can't really help as much if they've never been.
Yeah, that's true. Like
They don't know what to say. They don't know the experience.
yeah, you know, and sometimes your family really can't help you out, because if they're been like they can support, but they just don't know what it's like to be in the trenches. And I think you need to meet those people so you can learn from their experience. Like I tell people, I took Black Studies 202 with Miss Curry, and I learned a lot. Like, you know, I tell people Miss Curry like my second mama these days, and where people like, and I said, and it just came from I had her in the class. I met her first, and then I had her in the class because she wanted to help me get my GPA up. But you learn the real deal, where like she was putting everything in front of us. Like, all right, these are the organizations you need to be involved in. You know, forget those orgs. You know, okay, here's about Greek life, because y'all want to know about Greek life. We finna have Mr. Smith come in and talk about, you know, PWIs, HBCUs, and that's a conversation people need to hear, because like sometimes we pick schools for the wrong reason, right? Where I remember I say this, and Mr. Smith, my homie, like Mr. Smith, like my uncle, but I remember Mr. Smith chewed me out when I was in Miss Curry class, because I didn't know anything. Like, so I'm a freshman, so I didn't know. But he was like, you know, why are you here? And I said, oh, I'm here because I want to go to, you know, a diverse school, this and other. He said, this is a PWI. He said, it's this,
it ain't diverse.
you know, well, the bam. And then, you know, I reflected. I said, you know what? I said to myself, I'm like, I ain't gonna lie. I did this internship before I came to college. I had a white supervisor, and she was like, you'll need to go to HBCU. And you know, it's crazy because I kind of listened to that to an extent, but I don't think I was going to HBCU, and that was just because of you know, finances and distance, where I don't think feasibly I could have got to HBCU logistically, you know, with finances. But that grew me and Mrs. Smith's relationship, because I wanted to learn more about being Black, right? Because I feel like I'm Black, but I didn't know about being Black. Right. And I learned about being Black, and I found a home at the Center for Black Studies where, you know, I was there, I don't want to say every day, but it was almost like I was there about 5 or 6 days a week. And so,
and if I have a regret about college, to be like 100% honest, I was thinking about this probably last week or early this week. If I have one regret about college, it was not being connected to the Center for Black Studies. Mm-hmm. Like, of course, I've been there, I've been to meetings, I've done things there, but like not really being tapped in. I was just everywhere, you know, and so that's one of my biggest regrets, because I see how close everybody is, like Dr. Curry and Mr. Smith, and I'm like, I missed that opportunity. Like, I missed that. And I think, honestly, if we think about your experience, if we think about a lot of people's experiences in college, and even those people who come out of high school, even an ounce ready to be there, because you don't know you're ready until you're there, you in the real, like you said, in the trenches. It's because they had mentors that looked like them, giving them the real and giving them something to inspire to be. And so I think one thing that's really important that I see when we talk about young people and getting them to higher education, or even if if we take out higher education out the equation, getting them to be their best self in whatever it is they want to do. It's mentorship.
Yep.
If it's not in the family, if it's not in the school as a teacher, if it has to be someone, in my opinion, that looks like them to help guide them and give them the real. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I'm a component for mentorship. Like I say, I mentor, currently, and I think everybody need mentors, and you need different types of mentors. And I was just blessed to find mentorship in grammar school, right, where Mr. McLaughlin, I had just transferred schools in 7th grade, and Mr. McLaughlin was a computer teacher, and he kind of pulled me in because he just noticed stuff about me. Like he said, yeah, he's like, man, I noticed like you like to help people, and he was like, I noticed how you are with your brothers. You make sure y'all get together, y'all walk home and whatnot. And so he pulled me in to do like, the safety patrol for the school, safety patrol and color guard, right? But then this turned into like, to this day, I have his number. He's been a my high school graduation, my grad school graduation, and like I tell people, I'm like that's one of my mentors. Where before I think I could conceptualize what mentoring was, he was somebody in my corner, giving me advice, looking out, like and just keeping it real because he grew up in the streets and he wanted me to not have some of the same experiences he had, right? Where it was easy enough to do it, like I said, because I tell people I'm from. My podcast is 79th Street Podcast. I'm from 79th Street on the south side of Chicago.
We gotta talk about this before we go any further. I know you was getting into some good stuff. We're gonna come back to that, okay?
Yeah.
Where you from on the 9?
So I grew up in around 79th and Ashland. I graduated from Scott Joplin on 79th and Honorary. So yeah, that's my.
I'm from the 9 myself.
Yes, yeah, did not know that. Did not know that because didn't you go to Simeon? Maybe
Hirsch. My sister went to Simeon. I went to Hirsch.
Hirsch was our neighborhood school, actually, from my grammar school. So I used to go past Hirsch every day going to Kenwood. Yeah,
you could have been over there with me.
Yeah. See, I don't think I would have graduated if I would have went to Hirsch, and and that's just another situation, right, where. Pretty much with growing up in the city, you had people who, you become a victim of circumstance, right? Where Absolutely. You can't dictate what your neighborhood school is. And so a lot of people who went to Hirsch that was from my neighborhood, a lot of them dropped out of school because they used to have to fight every day going in and out of school. So I always tell people I was just fortunate enough to, pretty much be able to kind of pick where I went to high school because, I used to read a lot. So my reading scores was good. I had a good teacher in 7th grade for math. And so like my math score shot up like tremendously, like 7th grade math. And
that's the year they really look.
Yeah. And so I didn't have to go to the neighborhood school, but like almost everybody who went to my grammar school, like all of the males, I'll say this, all of the males who went to neighborhood school, they stopped going because they was fighting to go to school and fighting to leave school. And at one point they was like, hey, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go to school no more. And
Hirsch was not the easiest school. I'm going to say, especially for males. Yeah. I know it was my neighborhood school and I just didn't fill out any applications to any high schools. I really didn't know anything about that. So I was just like, all right, it's my neighborhood school. And I just remember my sisters and my mother was trying to keep her emotions about it under wrap, but my sisters were just like, no, not my little sister, not Hirsch, no. And I've always been this way. I was this way about college and everything. They've always been like, no, and I'm like, I get along with everybody. I'm gonna be fine. And I went and I was fine. I've never had an issue the entire time I was there. It was always love, and I got along with everybody, the thugs, the geeks, like everybody. I was
right.
Everybody. But that don't mean I didn't see what was going on. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely saw what was going on, and that speaks volumes to another issue. One of them being the schools not truly holding these kids accountable and preparing them for the next step
Yeah.
But another part of it is just circumstances of environment
Yeah.
that is hindering these kids, these young people, these brilliant minds, because some of them are just amazing, but they can't get what they need because it's too hard to get it. Like
Yeah.
you said, they can't even go to school without fighting in and fighting out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was always a discomponent. So like even in high school, I think I found a voice where, you saw a problem and it's like, like when I tell people I used to take 2 buses to get to school or 2 buses in a train, people are like, huh? Why? I said, because it was better for me to go to Kenwood than to go to the neighborhood school or other schools because, like I said, you would have been fighting. And I think a lot of students fall, victim to circumstances because you get caught up in the people like I tell people, I can't make this up. When I graduated from my grammar school, I was the only person who went to Kenwood. So it was kind of like,
all your friends.
yeah. So like I always tell people, I'm like, I'm a loner, but I'm not a loner because I am social. But like I've always been a loner to an extent where, I had to, be comfortable with just going versus, everybody else, they go to school with people. Like I know plenty of people. Oh yeah, we going to school together, 10 people going to that school, 10 people going to that school. But I was the only one who went to Kenwood. And I think I don't regret it because I feel like I had a lot of opportunities going there. I was able to go to school. I was able to avoid some craziness, but you do get caught up in craziness because if you know people, like I was just telling them, I said, growing up in the hood, like people who you went to school with, if they fighting, you fighting because if you don't fight with them, they're gonna fight you when you get back to the hood. Right. It's like so it's like what choice you gonna make on this day. And so but I think if parents can help it, like try to see if your student can get into like some type of school. Like I'm trying to get more up to date on like the politics of like all the CPS schools and stuff. But I know the neighborhood schools are still a thing, and you have varying ranges of neighborhood schools because like technically Kenwood is a neighborhood school, but it's like a elite neighborhood school versus like some other schools where it's like you can just tell like nobody should go there and things that sort. So I just think if parents can help it, try to make sure their kids apply to go somewhere, or if they can move somewhere where they could go to a better school. But I do think that's part of, like I said, that's a huge hurdle, which affects us a lot because parents have to work. So they're not there to be able to pick up and drop off from school. Like you kind of get on your own, if not. And with doing that, like say you're open up to seeing a lot of stuff. And
79th and Cottage Grove was crazy, honey.
It was. Like I said, I used to go past there, and I remember there was a girl I went to Kenwood with, and she lived like on the other side of Ashland. And we ended up becoming cool. Like we had gym together, and so it was like a half a day. And she was like, and I think I ran into her randomly one morning on the bus, and she was like, man, where you going? I said, I'm gonna go hop on the 28 and go to 79th. She's like, what are you doing? I said, that's how I get home. She was like, let me show you something. And so she used to take the 15 to 47, then the red line up to 79th Street, which was a lot better. Like, for granted, stuff can still happen, but it was a lot better than being stuck on 79th and Stony, because 79th and Stony used to get wild over there. It used to get wild over there. But
Stony State and Cottage Grove, I think, is like
yeah, like
3 stopping points of like
yeah, and but like I said, but just grateful, like say, to be able to make it through some of those times where stuff not happening, and just knowing people in the right, places, because like, you have been in situations where somebody come up on a bus stop and like, hey, who ain't cool over here? Who don't y'all know? They looking to get on dirt with people. Mm-hmm. And then someone was like, oh yeah, I know all of them. They good. And then mine just keep moving. All right, we finna go about our way. It's like, and I just think some people do become, the victim of circumstance because you can't help it. And like I said, I'm fortunate, like I said, but to have that choice to just go to another school where, even like back to the mentorship part, me and Mr. McLaughlin had a lot of conversations about college because I had got into Lynn Bloom too. And and you know, some people would argue like, oh, selective enrollment, you know, you should go to Lynn Bloom over Kenwood because technically Kenwood wasn't selective enrollment, but Mr. McLaughlin actually advocated for Kenwood because he said, hey, it's still a good school. He said, I think the neighborhood is a little bit better. He said, man, I know the family situation. He said, I know mom work. Ain't nobody gonna be able to come pick you up every day. And he said, it get real over there by Lynn Bloom. And he said, I know because he was like, you know, I got family that live over there, you know, and so, and it's funny because, you know, when you go to school with people, like, you know, you have friends who went to Lynn Bloom or friends who went to Urban Prep, and Urban Prep used to be in Lynn Bloom. And then just hearing some of them stories, I'm like, I guess I was like, McLaughlin wasn't telling no lies. Like McLaughlin was, you know, he was.
I was like, oh,
yeah, he was being thorough. Like for real, he was being thorough. Like he was like, James, I don't think that'd be the right fit. And sometimes you just need to hear somebody else say it because, like, I think if I remember correctly, I think my 8th grade reading teacher had went to Kenwood and the principal at the time, and so she kind of said like, "Hey, James, I think you could, you know, I think you could do your thing at Kenwood, you know." But then it's like other people like, "Oh, you got to go to selective enrollment." It's like, and McLaughlin came and kind of like said, it was the icing on the cake where it's like, I'm just gonna do the Kenwood route, like I said. And it's funny because I remember going to the little open house with my cousin. I had a cousin who graduated the same year I did, and we ended up at NIU together for a little bit. And we was just cracking jokes the whole time in this open house. We like, man, we ain't never going to this school. Well, after BAM, and where did I end up going?
That's cool. I think one thing that's really important about it is the mentorship piece. Is that you heard it from other people, but when it came from that person who solidified a relationship with you already, know who had your best interest in mind and who you cared about and who cared about you, it hits different. Yeah. Sometimes mentors are so amazing because even when our parents who we know love us and got our back say some things, we still like, you know, you are. But when that mentor say it, it's like, oh, okay. They can be saying the exact same thing, but it hits different because they're not your parents. I don't know why that is a thing, but it is.
Yeah, but you know, but sometimes our parents are hard on us, right?
Yeah.
You know, where like I was just telling a group of students this. I just did a presentation like an hour-ish ago, 2 hours ago. And I was just telling them about how when I got off academic probation. And I remember getting off academic probation and like I still got a D in the class, but I had got a D in the class already. And my mom was like, well, you still got a D, like, you know, this and the other versus Mr. Smith and Miss Curry was like, hey man, you got a 3.0. Like
you up,
you know, like you up, like, you know, and it do sometimes you just need that. Like I love my mom, but like sometimes you need that varying opinion, like that, because they gonna see it differently than your parent. Because like college is a different beast. Like it's a different beast.
Yeah.
like so, you know, but yeah, it was helpful having them, you know, in my corner, like I said, because they let me know when I was wrong. Like if I was wrong, they gonna let me know, like hey, you wrong. But if I was right, hey, J Rock, you good. Like, you know, well, the bam. But when that incident happened, like I said, they was supportive, and I'm like, and they like, man, what's wrong? I'm like, man, my OG still tripping. Talking about, so you still got a D in this class. They said, man, you still passed it. You got a 3.0, like
winning.
Right, winning. Like right, you know, and so, but yeah, just grateful to have those you know, just have those interactions because it's a balance, I think, right? You had a balance where you have
they don't always have the space to be understanding. I feel like it's like having that cool auntie versus your parents, or how your grandparents are versus your parents. They can give you back. So of course they're gonna be cool by the time that they got you. Your parents, all they think about is you're safe, let me feed you, let me clothe you, let me you down 24/7. So I think you have to, that's why it takes a village to truly raise a child. Because the parent can't be everything because they have a whole lot on their plate. So that's why you need the cool auntie or the cool uncle or the mentors to show you something else while the parents focus on making sure you good, you know? And so for me, I was blessed to have some really great mentors in my field really, really early. High school, just like movie producers, just really amazing people really early. Also, culturally, and then also just with life. So I was really blessed with that. But I often think about the people and specifically the young people
who don't have it.
that became adults that don't have that. They all they have is their immediate household. Those parents who don't have time or the capacity to encourage in different ways or to do different things, or somebody to keep it real with them, like Kenwood versus Lynn Blom. Even something as simple as just hygiene and different things like that.
Yeah.
People don't have that, and so I would rally a troop of everyone who's watching this, everybody in the world, hell, to really be a mentor. Mentorship is so important. I'm a mentor. I'm an instructor, and my young people, I haven't taught since probably 2017, 2018. They still be in my inbox when they need help.
Yeah.
They know even if we ain't spoken in years, I'm still gonna pick up the phone. I'm still gonna send that message. I'm still gonna do what I can to find you a job or whatever else you may need, because that's what's important. If you have life questions, that's what's important. So I would rally any and everyone out there. Let me fix that. Not any and everyone. Some people don't need to be mentored.
No, some people definitely don't need to be mentored.
Let me fix that right now.
Yeah.
If your heart is right, if your mind is right, and you're about the greater good of the world, be a mentor. Because why keep your information to yourself? Why keep your love to yourself? Why keep your guidance to yourself when somebody out there needs it? Because when I think about the blessings that people like us have had of having amazing mentors at different stages of our life, and I think about the people who didn't, and I look out into the world and I see those people. I know those people when I see them, because they become those people that we talked about based on our environments, circumstances. They just fall victim to the circumstances of their environments. And you know that they may not be bad people, but they're doing what becomes normal to them. And I always like to remind people of this fact, especially when elders start to look down at the young people, or when even we look at ourselves and look down on ourselves, we become what we learn. And from our parents, from the school systems, from our environment, from the other people around us. If all we see is gang, 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 if all we see is drugs, if all we see are these things, then that's what becomes our normal. So the problem is that they can't just say, and we look at people like, why can't you just see that's wrong and do something better? Because that's their normal. I say, look at it like a baby. You learn how to talk, you learn how to walk, you learn what to eat, you learn what to say, you learn how to respond emotionally by looking at your parents, by looking at the people and the circumstances and the things around you. Those babies become adults. So if they literally don't see anything better until a mentor, where someone comes into their life, or they go away to school and see a different environment, then they don't know anything else. Someone has to come and introduce something else. It's not just going to be some type of magic epiphany that happens and they're like, oh, better is out there. We need people to reach these people. So why not be that person? That's how I feel about mentorship. We really want to be better as a greater good of people, as a whole race. The people who know better have to go back and help other people. Not saying that everybody's going to want the help. Not saying that everybody's going to take it. But you have to offer it, because the ones who want it will take it, and you're going to help some lives, period. And so that definitely leads to, I think, another point of what we can do to really bless these young people and get them to where they need to be in life, whether that be higher education.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think mentoring should just, I don't want to say just be done, but it definitely should be done, right? And if you're able and willing, like, to give up time, like, you should be mentoring. And like, one thing I learned years ago, right, from one of my mentees, and she was like, hey, if you're a mentor, you need to be like that big brother, big sister to the person that you're mentoring. Like, you need to give them everything you would have gave, like, your brothers or sisters. And I agree with that, right? Where it's a very active and hands-on thing, and it don't cost anything, right?
$3.99.
Like for granted, yes, if you decide you want to be nice and like do stuff, you can you could pay some money, but mentoring is free, and you have something to teach. Like I said, because we all have journeys, and your journey might reciprocate, with students, and they might just want to, like I said, stay in contact. And so, mentorship, like I said, it's one of the easiest things. There are a number of organizations for both males and females across the city that are looking for mentors, looking for donations if that's what you can do, just to help these kids out. Like, I work with a mentoring program, and like, there is no budget. We fundraise everything. We come out of pocket for everything, but we make it happen because we know the importance, for them kids to not become a product of the environment. And it's easy, like I said, to see it, like I said, because them kids like coming to the sessions we have. They like being around us, and they, I ain't gonna lie, they can be annoying at times, but that comes with the territory, right? Where, as long as, like, because my thing is, as long as they listen, they respectful, we're gonna be cool. Now, when there's like disrespect, like, that's a whole nother conversation. But a lot of the mentoring relationships I've had have been very positive. I've had maybe one or two that didn't work out, and it wasn't like nothing of my doing, because I know I'm a beast. Like, I ain't gonna lie, like, I care. So,
Right.
and so, but it was just, sometimes people don't want mentoring. They look for any way out, and they don't want to take accountability. Like, I think part of it is, accountability and owning up if you make mistakes. And even as a mentor, you have to own up to any mistakes that you do, because some mentors do make mistakes. Like, I think we learned that from being in college and, mentorship and organizations, where some of the mentees was, upshoring the mentors, and the mentors, when they wouldn't apologize for their wrong faults. And I think, it's a reciprocal relationship, right? Both of y'all have to give, and both of y'all have to be held accountable.
I think, to take it back, because accountability was like your first point that you made. When it comes to these schools, we have to hold these schools accountable. And we did get some comments. I'll pop them back up on screen.
Okay.
We said it needs to start early, but this gentleman said it needs to start 7th grade. I would say even sooner. Right. I would say first of all, accountability starts in the household before these kids even walk into a school building. True. Accountability starts at home. I have a 2-year-old. I've been teaching him accountability since birth. And he understands what I'm talking about, especially now that he's 2. He's a lot more coherent than he was as a newborn and as a 1-year-old. But since I've been teaching him this since then, it's second nature to him. He automatically knows. Going back to what you teach a baby becomes their normal. Yeah. So his normal is accountability. His normal is learning. His normal, that's his base. Everything else is like, what? No, learning. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. And it's important that as a parent, again, because we're parents, is busy. We're doing this. We're doing that. We're trying to make sure they lights on and everything else. We have to make sure that we do put into our children what we want to produce. It's like a crop. As a farmer, what you put in to your crops. Come on, is that going to be a plentiful harvest, or is it going to be real scarce? Right. To you. Facts, not saying that the wind and the weather going to play a role. Yeah, but if you make sure you're doing what you need to do, the harvest most time did not going to come out beautiful. Okay. So it's that part. So once we get to the schools, though, because again, it takes a village to raise a child, you do need those teachers and those mentors and that staff, because sometimes it could be the lunch lady. It don't have to be a teacher. That's true. Sometimes it could be the security guard at the front door. Sometimes, it can be anybody. It's the lady holding the sign while you crossing the street. It takes a village, and we all need to do that part. So, but if we aren't holding these kids accountable and teaching them accountability, they become adults that can't take accountability. So that's where those mentors come in, who won't say sorry because they had parents that didn't say sorry, and they were never taught accountability. So I think it goes all the way back from like parents. If the parents can't get to it, you need that consistency in their life.
Yep. And that's what we do as mentors, right? Because, like, not saying the kids' parents don't hold them accountable, but then, the parents be like, hey, they messing up in school. Y'all, can y'all handle this situation? Because, they're around y'all, and it's gonna be different coming from y'all than coming from us. And it's like,
It will be.
And we gotta address those things. And and I think being a mentor, like I said, it definitely comes with glam, right? Because you get to see them graduate and do this, that, and the other, but it do come with a level, like say, of accountability. And when you're dealing, like say, like we run this is not like a school-based mentor program. It's a program that we run on the south side of Chicago on Sunday. So the kids' parents know where they are. And so we're building relationships with the parents, and the parents say, hey, he failed all his classes. Like, y'all need to have a talk with him. And it's like, and we gotta, hey, you can't be failing all your classes. Like what's going on? Why did you fail all your classes? But it also helps too, right? Because there's a range of kids. And so you got, the younger ones, you got the older ones, say like, hey, you don't want to do that. I've been there. I got kicked out of 3 schools, and you don't want to go down that route because that's the route you headed down if you fell in all your classes. So it becomes, because it's a cycle, right? Because you mentor somebody, then hopefully they go on to mentor somebody. So it just starts a cycle. Yeah. It starts a village. Yeah. So, but, and I think that's how, it should be, right? Where,
absolutely.
You put into somebody else what was put into you, and, just make the world a better place.
Absolutely. Because I look at it this way. If we got people out here spreading negativity and things that I personally feel shouldn't be spread, why can't we do the opposite? Why can't we combat that by spreading love? Why can't we combat that by spreading knowledge and acceptance and letting these kids know that they're absolutely amazing? And that's actually what the Healing Academy is all about. It's a non-for-profit education and arts-based organization, soon to be school, actually. Really, really soon, our school will be opening up, and educating the baby holistically, not just on reading, writing, math, and all of that greatness, because that's great too. But who are you? A foundation of who you are. Like you said, yeah, I'm Black, but what does that really mean?
Right.
You don't know from like pre-K, 12th grade. We got you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then not only that, accountability, not only in your family life and to yourself, because you also got to know you got to be accountable to yourself, but to the greater good of the community. It's about that collective work. What does that look like, right? Not only in your community here in Chicago, but globally. What does that look like, right? Spiritually, how to deal with your emotions so you ain't stealing off people for stepping on gym shoes. Like, these are things that we need to start instilling into our children so that they are prepared to be amazing beings in this world. That's not happening right now. It's not happening. So that's why the Healing Academy exists. And so our school is opening soon. And the goal is to become an international school where we create our own education system, where we're truly educating our young people and preparing them to be amazing beings in this world, and not just to get by or to slide under the radar. We're gonna teach them about college. We're gonna teach them these things that they need to know, not only for school and higher education, but to live a life that's full and things that I ain't gonna say things they don't need to heal from. That's a part of it, but those things will happen, and we want to teach you how to heal as well. So when those things do happen, you know how to deal with that and heal properly through that. So that's the overall goal of the Healing Academy. And that's one reason why I was super excited to have this conversation, because these are points that we need to talk about. What's really going on with our young people? What's hindering our young people? And then what can we do to make sure it stops? And so I got my notes, but my last question that I always ask my people is to give me points. Okay, so that we can give it to the people. I create a little note sheet because we ain't just talking for the sake of talking. We talking to educate. Okay, hopefully inspire some conversation within other people in other communities where we can really create some change. So my last question is, what are your 5? I started off with like 3, but I'm like, nah, you gotta give them some more points.
Right.
What are your 5 points, key points, main points that you can give to anyone who sees this video on what they can do to help the youth again to really be better in their life in higher education?
Okay. So I think mentorship, I think that's like number one.
That's definitely down.
Yeah. Like mentorship. I think outside of mentorship, definitely just the importance of finding your journey. So don't let somebody dictate your journey. Three, I might have to say is to with three, I want to say just be intentional about schooling, right? Where you know if you're put in a bad situation, try to turn it into a positive, but also build relationships while you're in that arena. I would say four, find out what you're passionate about and try to incorporate that into, what you do. And then five might actually get me.
You know what I put from the conversation?
What you put?
Accountability.
Accountability. Yeah. No, yeah. No, I think that is crucial. I need accountability as a professional, for my day job, and sometimes as a mentor and sometimes as a friend. Like, hey, I haven't seen you. What's going on? Like, so we all have moments where we need, accountability for things we say we are gonna do and things that we don't do. Yep.
Absolutely. And being open
Yep.
to those notes. Because we can't hold ourselves accountable and be better if we ain't listening when people hold us accountable. Absolutely. So I'm gonna run them back just to make sure I got them the way they need to be got. Okay. So one is mentorship. Another one I put your journey is yours.
Yeah.
Your journey is yours. Another one I have is to build relationships. Another one I have is to find out what your passion is. And the last one is accountability.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to make a little note sheet for everybody. I'm going to post
and be like, boom.
tag it and send it to you. James, 5 points.
Right. My 5 points.
How to reach these youth. All right, how to correct yourself if the youth wasn't reading it. Okay, and prepare yourself for higher education and a better life. All right, overall, because this ain't just about higher education. It definitely helps in higher education. All of these.
Yeah.
But it also helps you in your whole life.
Right, and life in general. Right, exactly.
And I think that's the thing about higher education for me is it as crazy as it can be, undergrad. It really does prepare you for life. It really does. Running organizations and planning events and juggling class and juggling a social life and juggling a job and juggling all of these things in undergrad. You get out in the real world and be like, oh, that's Kate. Okay.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Without a doubt. Because I remember when I was working my first job at a grad school, I used to do stuff and my supervisor was like, you sure you're not taking on too much? I'm like, nah, this easy. Like, I'm just planning a program. Like, what do you? She's like, well, what about the stuff you do outside of work? That's outside of work. Like, and people just be so surprised. But I told them, I said, like, I did a lot, like in college. Like, I was just telling one of my bros earlier. I said, man, I was like on like 3-4 e-boards at once. And
absolutely.
I said, I made it work, and like I said, but yeah, it definitely prepares you for the real world because if you got programming experience, you definitely gonna have to plan stuff at work, or even like with me having this extensive background, with being treasurer of organizations, that stuff come in handy as well, like with just budgeting and stuff like that, because people just be surprised at how your mind works. Like I remember I was a grad and we had paid to do this tabling event for our office, and whatever happened, they only gave us one table, but we paid for 2 tables. And so we was having a meeting. I said, man, did they give us our $20 back? And everybody was like, the director was like, I forgot about that. She was like, why did you? I said, because we paid. I said, if it's one thing I do, I can keep track of some money. So if I paid something, I'm gonna let you know we need run that $20 back.
Right
Run
on
it back.
the accounts, please. Thank you.
Right.
I think even if you're not even like actively using it, I took a class. I can't even remember what class it was. One of them mandatory math classes. And we had to do like budgets. And I'm like, since that day, I've been teaching real grown people how to do budgets. Like still to this day, I'd be like, no, write that out. Now you want to subtract that from that. And like real grown people out here, we live in life. Right. And we need this information, y'all. We need to budget. It's not an optional thing. Like, it's not optional budget, y'all. And again, just juggling classes, juggling having a social life, juggling work if you worked in college. And then especially if you were in some orgs and you was actually doing things in those orgs. Baby, you get out in life and be like, say less. Yeah. Say less. So I think if anything, just summing things up as far as higher education for inner city youth, I think there's value there. Yeah. Yes, you can do a trade. Ain't nothing wrong with that. We can discuss that already. Trade, get your life, okay? Because that's consistent money. These trades are consistent money, okay? And if you are going to do higher education, James, you said it earlier. Know why you're going. Know why you want to do it. And I think that, again, higher education, but it also goes with anything in life. If you don't know why you're doing it, then it's easy for you to walk away from it. That's relationships, that's careers, that's anything. If you don't know why you're doing it, you can drop it really easily. So if you're going on a whim, not saying even if it is, because you might go on a whim and find out you love it and figure out life, okay? Right. That might be a part of your journey.
Right, you might go and be there 7 years.
Right. That's thing too.
Right.
But yes, know why you're going, know why you want to do it, and enjoy your journey. My journey was my favorite part about college. Again, I gave this to my mom as soon as this came in the mail. But the people I've met, like James, and so many other people, I mean, you can't pay for that. You can't pay. You can't. You can't pay for the experience. Like you got that on your list. Build relationships. Yeah. Like you cannot pay for the quality of people that you meet, especially when you put yourself out there. Especially when you go with the mindset of meeting people. And then again, the overall experience of getting out of your comfort zone. I feel like college gives you an opportunity to figure out who you are. Where elementary school and high school was who you were told to be. Yeah. College is you figuring out.
You find out who you are. Yep. Yeah. You find out what type of you find out what type of beast or what type of student you are. Like it's real because your interests may shift.
A couple times.
Right. Like you may say like, oh hey, like I really like, this art stuff, or I thought I wanted to be a doctor, but I might want to go into politics. Like college is I don't want to say a strange place, but it's a strange place because you think you want to do one thing and you may come out doing something else. And, that's okay. As long as, I would say like, I always tell people like, just try to catch it early because you don't want to be in your last year talking about I'm going to change my major. Because then you might run into some problems.
8+ years.
Yeah.
That's how you get showed up.
But outside of that, but it's a great place. Like, and I think with the better relationships, like I still talk to a number of people from those NIU days, and just good, genuine friends who you travel together. You kick it, celebrate birthdays. And all that good stuff. So and just
a lot of them become families to a certain.
Yeah. Oh, of course. I think that's exactly like they like a part of your family where you like say you treat them like family, like say y'all kicking it. But I'm just grateful to have the opportunity, like I said, because some people you'll be surprised at how many people go to school and don't make connections. Like I always tell my students, just be open and enjoy every second of it because. These are the people who are, they're going to be the godfathers of your, godparents of your kids. Y'all going to travel together. When weddings come, you're probably going to be at their wedding. And so, you just want to, I don't know, you just want to enjoy it. And I feel like I enjoyed it, and I met a lot of people. And so, and I always tell people, because people are like, you got a lot of friends. I said, no, I don't have a lot of friends. I have a lot of associates.
I know a lot.
I said, but the crew is the crew. Like the crew is the crew. And so you would definitely be able to tell and see, like, you know, the difference in relationship with those people. You know,
and I think college can help teach you that versus elementary school and high school too.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because in elementary and high school, everybody your friends, even the frenemies, the people that really shouldn't be your friends. Oh, that's my friend. That's my no, it's not, baby.
Yeah.
It's not. And you really get to experience that in college and really figure out who should you be around for real and who you shouldn't be around.
Oh yeah, of course.
In college, and then it's just you. It's just you. I think that's one of the biggest part for people. When it comes to, like we said, people who can't get up for class and everything else, your parents aren't there. There's no teacher that's gonna be in your dorm room like, do your homework. It's just you.
Yeah.
So like you said, you figure out what type of student you are, you figure out what type of person you are, you figure out your interests, you figure out what friends are and what they ain't. You figure out a whole lot in college. And I definitely agree. Be open to the experience. I always laugh and be like college is the biggest networking pool ever, baby. You better be in everybody's field. All right, I'm gonna have a lawyer friend, I'm gonna have a doctor friend, I'm gonna have an engineer friend. Have an accountant friend. You get a friend from every pocket of school, okay? But yes, it's definitely an amazing experience, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Yes, it's not for everybody. It's not, but me personally, I wouldn't change it for the world. So if you are looking to go into it thinking smart. Again, James said it earlier. Don't do it because somebody's forcing you to do it. Do it for you, and
do it for you. Yeah.
And choose the school for you, because that can throw you off your path as well. I got accepted to Northern Iowa, which I thought was the school I wanted to go to initially because they had a really great theater program, and a friend from high school was like, "I'm gonna go with you," right? And we applied, and they gave me a scholarship and everything. And then I went to NIU's campus, and I was like, I got to turn that scholarship down. This is where I need to be. And I also weighed it out, like, do I really want to be out in Iowa? Nah.
Iowa different.
Iowa hit them.
Iowa different.
No, thank you. And literally, I, of course, went to NIU. I finished out, made some amazing friends in life and just everything. And my friend who went to Northern Iowa ended up coming back home because she was like, I couldn't do it. So make sure you pick the school for you.
And I think I've heard, this is my second time hearing about this school in the past week and a half.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I somebody was just talking about Northern Iowa, and I don't think it was like a good experience. Like, I think it was like kind of like the same thing. Went and was like, yeah, I can't do that. I've got to transfer. I'm positive. One of my friends that I think about, I think that's where she was, and she ended up coming to NIU.
Yeah, it's. I mean, for the melanated variety, it's not a lot of us out there. Okay, so just leave that alone.
Right.
I know that was one of the biggest reasons why she came home. Like, oh no, baby.
Yeah.
But really, you have to pick the school for you. So don't just go based off your major. Don't just go. You have to see the campus, like James said. Get a feel for it. If you can't see yourself there, then don't go. Don't waste the time or the money. Go where you feel comfortable. Because again, like we both stated, it's a place where you're gonna really explore yourself and determine who you want to be and the type of person that you want to be. So make sure you're comfortable there. And I think that's great. I think has been an amazing show, James. I'm not going to keep you all night. I appreciate you.
No problem.
For coming on. I got your 5 points, so I'm going to be sending you your
So you got the 5 points.
I got the 5 points. I'm going to be sending you your note sheets. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you all for commenting. I really appreciate everyone being here. And I will keep you all posted on the Healing Academy school so that we can make sure our babies get the information that they need in the environment that they need to be in, with the people that they need to be taught by. Straight up. All right, y'all have an amazing night. Thank you again, James.
No problem. And thank you.
Listen, you know you got me. Call me, text me. We want to know. Because listen, I told James at the beginning of the conversation, I said it's been like 12, 13 years, James.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I think, like I said, the little pandemic has hindered a lot of stuff, and you normally would bump into somebody here and there, and it stopped a lot of that just bumping into people. But yeah, we definitely gotta connect soon, because I just talked to Vanessa like a week or two ago.
Yeah.
So and she was saying the same thing. She said, "I ain't seen you since like your birthday." I'm like, "Yeah, it's been a couple months."
I'd be exaggerating. I'd be like, "Boy, I ain't seen you since 1968. It's been too long."
Talking about some 1968.
I wasn't even born then. Well, all right, y'all. Have an amazing night. And remember, follow the Healing Academy. Follow Melanated in America. And James, please let them know where your podcast is so that they can follow and subscribe and do whatever they need to do.
Oh, so the easiest thing is you can look me up on Facebook or Instagram, 79th Street Podcast. Outside of that, you could go to JamesAlfordLLC.com and you can get to my podcast from there. It's on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Anchor. So yeah, and if anybody want to follow me, I don't know, you might. My personal Instagram is SoulBroKJV. I still been rocking with that since college, but yeah, I'm out here in these streets, as they say.
In these streets for the good.
For the good,
in these streets for the good. We changing lives out here. James, again, thank you for coming, and thank you for everything.
Problem.
Thank you for your work with the young people, financially, emotionally, spiritually, because we need people like you. We need people like you out here. All right, y'all. Make sure y'all stay live. Tuesdays is The Breathe. Experience Tuesdays, and y'all already know, Free Your Mind Friday, both at 6 p.m. and catch the post all throughout the week. Love you, James. Love y'all.
See ya. Talk to you
soon. Catch y'all later.